Oh, it is Friday. Bring it in with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
We are now at the end of preseason.
Yeah.
Regular season is going to be here starting Tuesday night. We have so many things to discuss. But before we get into that, Coach, you had your show on Fireside where you tell parents your kid's not going to make the Olympics. No, wait, that's me. I tell parents their kids aren't going to make the Olympics. I'm the ruiner of dreams. But how did your first show go on Fireside?
I thought it went well. Jerry Rice was there for a while, so that's kind of a cool thing. The football player, yeah. I have a feeling he was just kind of messing around because he's also a content creator on Fireside. But yeah, the idea is really initially just how do you use sports in the best way and try to come up with the different questions parents might have. How do we handle this? How do we handle this? We're doing it every Tuesday at noon. It seems like we got a decent enough crowd and an interest, so we'll do it again. But I asked Judy, who is a parent of children who are of the age we're talking about, which is we're not dealing yet with high school level players. We're talking about younger people when they first are starting out. So maybe Judy could give you an idea of what kind I was focused on.
So I think the reason why I like Fireside Chat so much with you, David, is that it's a concentrated amount of very plain spoken David wisdom, which I get because I am fortunate to work with you all the time in little tidbits. And I think of it as the David Thorpe breathing spirit into others moment. But I always take your parenting advice because it's such good parenting advice. And so I really like what you're doing on Fireside because you are taking all those little tidbits and weaving stories around them and giving them to everyone else because I selfishly have been just like enjoying them personally. So even if you are not a parent, it's just generally good advice for being a good human. But as someone who's trying very hard to raise two decent humans, it's a very valuable just parenting opportunity to have some to hear some insight from someone who I think is a really excellent parent. The only bad advice you've ever given,
yes,
which haunts me all the time, is that I should get my daughter a dog because dogs make your heart grow bigger. What the hell, David Thorpe? I think about that all the time. Do you know what Betty wrote, my daughter, on her little autobiography? She had to write a one-sentence autobiography. It was, I really want a pet, but I can't.
That's awesome.
So, Coach, I agree with you. I'm going to work with you to infiltrate Betty and let her know that she needs to get a dog. So we're going to wear Judy down over time is what I think is going to end up happening. Wonderful, wonderful idea.
Yeah, I will tell you that my wife now is back in the workforce and she works at elementary school. And her principal said to her the other day that they want to bring in a therapy dog. They feel like elementary school kids are super stressed because of the pandemic and all these other things. And our dog Wilson, my wife is going to see if we can't do that with him. He's super chill. He's super loving. And dogs do make your hearts grow bigger, at least the people that are with them. So I think your daughter is brilliant and a genius. And you'll come around, Judy. Like, I didn't want a dog. We didn't get a dog when my kids were little, but by the time they were 5, I realized, okay, I need some help in helping my kids become better human beings. And dogs do that.
Judy, never.
Whatever. Moving on. Let's
moving on, Coach.
This incredible news in Brooklyn. Jarod.
So Wednesday night, Coach, it's getting late. It's like, all right, time to wind down. And I get an alert on my phone. Kyrie Irving going live on Instagram. I was like, oh boy. I was like, we haven't heard him speak since the Nets sent him home on Tuesday saying, if you're not going to be a full-time player, we're not going to have you here, my guy. So he goes on Instagram live. And Coach, I want to preface it by saying this. Kyrie does a lot of wonderful things and is often a well-meaning person. But that 20 or so odd minute IG live session that he had, he said a whole lot of nothing. A lot of word salad, a lot of word vomit. I'm like, bro, like, what are you even talking about? And the one thing I took from it, and I don't know whether it's true or not, because I haven't done any reporting or asked around, he did mention that he thought he was going to have some kind of exemption. What exemption? I don't know. I don't know where he got that from. But other than that, I just thought it was useless. And from Brooklyn's standpoint, this is the thing they had to do, right? They needed to put sort of a pin in this and move forward with the guys that were there. You and I talked about it every time we've been on Bring It In. Going to a championship, all oars must be rolling same tempo, same direction. Yeah. Can't have somebody going backwards and sideways. It's just, you're not helping. So you stay home. And then something I said to you off air, this is the first step, I believe, for them ultimately cutting ties, because he has a player option at the end of this year that he can exercise. Question is, will he do it or not? Because the Nets have taken off the extension off the table for obvious reasons, because he's proven non-reliable. And now it's a question of, can they move him? And who, as an organization, would be willing to take him? And they have to set a deadline in their mind, whether it be All-Star break, whatever, some point where you can come back, but by this date. Because if you don't, the ship is continuing to sail on without you. Because if we are so focused on winning a championship, we cannot have you come back in April or May and start messing things up and screwing up what everyone else who's been here all year has worked towards. I know you have tons of thoughts on this.
I do, actually, but I want to talk about you first. In a good way, of course. So I know my friend Jarod Hector last summer, which is not a long time ago. You were totally okay if the NBA players just said, you know what, fuck this, we're not playing. We got dudes getting shot and killed by cops and strangled to death, and you didn't mind them choosing that hill to say, all right, we're done. Like you were behind that
100%.
And I wanted them to play for selfish reasons, but I completely respected your point of view. It made a lot of sense. That was worth protesting for, and maybe losing money and maybe not playing. It was worth their celebrity sacrifice. I thought, this isn't. Kyrie, separate from the potential to win a championship and all this negative anxiety coming in to his world, what kind of extension could he sign for, Jarod? Like now?
I mean, well, he would get the max extension, right? That's what he's eligible for, because he's an all-NBA, yada, yada, all that stuff. But if you're a player, why would you want that? Caleb said he's the voice for the voiceless. I mean, that's the stuff that came out in the Shan speech. But I'm like, dude, you said nothing. What voice? Voice right. Of what? Like, what are you actually saying? What is your point here? I'm not anti-vax. I'm not for the vax either. So then what are you?
So
what are you?
So he's sacrificing, if he wanted to, $180+ million. Mm-hmm. I think your point is you don't want to do the extension and then just go ahead and sign a max deal after his last year, right?
Right.
Which is still possible.
Could be.
Yeah. He could do that. So here's my take. I will preface it by saying I'm not a practicing psychologist. I only have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I only worked 10 weeks in a mental hospital and a couple of little things here and there. But I do have some experience with mental disorders over 30 years as well, since college, and helping people and talking to people and just my role as just a person in society. And I said this to you on the phone the other day too. Hearing him talk made me very queasy inside, like something's wrong with him. And again, I'm not diagnosing anything severe. It's I would say it's a much more muted version of maybe a bipolar disorder or depression or just anxiety. But the reason why I say this, Jarod, is, as I said to you, people who are ill that way, they can try to be controlling of situations. They also are prone to feelings, or I think the medical term is like grandiosity, where someone in a much more sicker situation told me that she for a while thought she was Queen Elizabeth. Can't get much more grandiose than that. Mm-hmm. Then this person was sicker than Kyrie, I would guess for sure. But when you're talking about voice of the voiceless in this, what you said, this garbage word salad, that's projecting a grandiosity that has no business in this context. There are contexts for it, like last year's protests, that them taking a stand, players unified to take a stand, say we're just not playing until we feel something is done at the government level to protect our families, in a sense, and our kin, whatever. This isn't that. And so just to carry it forward a little bit. I've said this show before. I spent some time once reading a lot about John Belushi, who was a very important person in my life when he died, and Chris Farley, who I was also a big fan of. I was much older at that point. And in reading their stories, it seems possible, if not likely, that had the people in their life told him, stop acting, get out of Hollywood, go to the mountains, go to Europe where you're not known, because it's feeding your addiction. This celebrity and this fame is feeding your addiction literally, and you're going to die. And so if you never make any money again, you've made enough. And you can always come back in 5 years if you can somehow get cured. I feel this way about Kyrie. So to your excellent point about, kind of drawing a line in the sand a little bit, what I'd like to see the Nets do is say to Kyrie, go get away, get off of social media. We're not going to talk about you. We're putting a moratorium on any discussion about you. Go get away and get help. And whatever that means, whether it's therapy, whether it's medicine, whether it's just peace and quiet, don't even think about basketball right now. And in a month or 2 months, or even to your point, and All-Star break is 3 months away, if you come back and you decide, you know what, I'm going to join the team, I'm going to follow the rules that the team has set, like everyone else on the team is doing, we can't wait to have you back. We will not trade you during that time. However, by whatever date they set, February 1, whatever, if you haven't done that, we don't know what we're going to do. We might trade you. We might just suspend you for the season. But we're hoping that you get away and get healthy and realize that this argument makes no sense. So that's what I'm hoping happens, where he just gets away and gets healthy, because as you perfectly stated, this isn't about the vaccine.
No.
And it's not about people losing their jobs. Come on, man.
Right. No, this is, I mean, as Caleb said in the chat, the people that are voiceless died, right? Like they died from COVID, right? Like you understand what is at stake here from a health standpoint. Again, take away the basketball. From a health standpoint, you have small children. Like there are so many things in your life now that have nothing to do with basketball that you should be aware of. This ain't that hill, my guy. Like it's just not. And that savior complex is something that you're alluding to, Coach, about the need to sort of do. And listen, he does wonderful things. I always want to be clear about that. So many things that go unreported, by the way, which is wonderful. But this, and then in the one breath saying, I don't want to be a distraction, but at the same time, you are the hugest distraction. This is all we are talking about when we have the NBA 75th season coming up, which is set to be extraordinary. So I think, to your point, I'm with you. Nets draw that line and they just figure out a way to move forward. And I think, Durant spoke to the media for the first time after yesterday's preseason game. And he's like, look, what's getting mad going to do? We're not going to change his mind. He's like, I hope it all works out in the end, but we got to do what we're doing and we're moving forward. Right. And so that, to me, is as public as he's going to get as being against Kyrie.
Jarod, do you think that KD said that because he's tried to change his mind? Or do you think because Harden said he haven't talked?
Harden said they hadn't talked. I'm sure KD spoke to Harden, spoke to Kyrie prior to the Nets making that decision on Tuesday, saying, look, man, we're trying to do this thing. And Kyrie's just stubborn and not going to budge. And again, KD is not a telling guy what to do, going to be badgering him. It's like, all right, this is what you decided. Cool. But I think he's also at a point where, again, no matter what Sean Marks says, and Sean Marks had to do this, he had to protect Kevin and James by saying, Josiah and I made this decision, but we all know they don't make that decision unless Kevin and James say, fine, we're okay with it. The next step now is, hey, Kevin, so if he doesn't show up by whatever date, are you cool with us moving him? And I have to imagine that's getting closer and closer to be a reality.
I couldn't agree more. I think that knowing players the way I do, I don't know KD. We have many mutual friends, but I think you're exactly right. I think that some date, something, it might just be they lose a game to Atlanta or the Thunder because Harden doesn't play and KD's on his own. And then he's like, fuck that guy. We got to go get someone else here because we can win a championship with one more good player. Maybe they can win anyway, which we'll talk about in a minute. But Kyrie would help. I mean, he's a very, very good player.
Let's be very clear. Last season was probably his best basketball season. Almost 27 points per game, 50, 40, 90. And he was, once he moved to the 2 guard, doing all the off-ball split cuts to the hoop. I mean, think about it. You got them 3 on the court. Who are you shading towards? Because one of them's going to kill you. And that's, or all 3 of them are going to kill you. So, Moving to basketball, Coach, you had a great piece that came out today about the Nets and James Harden's free throw rate. And I definitely want to talk about this with you because this is exciting. Obviously, most people think with the three of them, they were an overwhelming favorite to be the champions.
Yeah.
Now, without Kyrie, your margin of error has been cut dramatically because even though he's the third best of the three, he's a vital piece. And it's because the roster has been constructed as such so that he's a very important part of it. Okay, so he's gone. That means now Kevin and James, who are more than capable, will have to increase and do some things, do more things. But you're watching Harden's free throw rate. Why?
I mean, he's just been the king of it. He lives on the line, but people forget about. First of all, remember that it's the most important mission of a good offense is to get fouled. There's exceptions. The brilliant shooting teams cannot, like Phoenix did not go to the line much last year. They shot really well and they defended really well. It's what you want. It's the best result is get to the free throw line with almost anyone that is even a 70% free throw shooter. And Harden's the best at it. And it doesn't just help you for all the reasons I was just talking about, which is, the best, it's the most productive, efficient way to score. It debilitates a defense. Players don't like to get fouls because they don't want to sit. And if they get 2 in the first quarter or 3 in the first half, they tend to sit, right? So 4 in the third quarter, that kind of thing. And so that means they play less aggressively because they don't want to foul, which means you get more chance to score. It means that any common foul results in free throws when you get to the bonus. And Harden's the king of all of that. And this is not a guy that's a 42% three-point shooter. He's a good three-point shooter. He's not a great one. And so he needs to be able to get to the free throw line to create the points that they'll need, absent Kyrie, to have the best offense in the league again, like they did last year, which they need to have probably because of defensive liabilities. Although maybe Claxton can become their 5, and that because Blake Griffin really can't do a lot in the paint anymore defensively. They have all season to figure that out. And so Harden in the last 2 games has taken 4 free throws. Just a couple preseasons ago, he took 14.6 free throws per 36 minutes in the preseason. And last year he got 7.3 in a game per game in like 36 minutes, which was a 9-year low. But still, 7's plenty. Plenty. And the question is, can he do it? Is he just fat right now? Is he out of shape? Is he not trying? Did you watch them play last night?
I did. So yeah, I've got some thoughts on what I've seen from him postseason.
So he was a quarterback. He was a quarterback last night with 14 assists.
Yes.
5 turnovers, 6 points only, 2 of 7 from the field. So now what are you seeing right now?
He's not aggressively hunting offense right now.
Yeah.
He is, to your point, he's game managing and doing that. And that's why I think the Kyrie point is so important about when they decide what they're doing. Because once he shifts into, because he's still going to have to be the primary facilitator, but he'll also add to, okay, I'll be secondary scorer. Because when Kyrie's there, I'm tertiary scorer. Primary facilitator, Kevin's number 1 scorer, Kyrie's number 2, I'll be tertiary when we're all 3 of us on the floor. He's going to have to ramp that up now with no Kyrie. And now almost kind of do a 50-50 split, right? Of I'm generating offense for everybody else, but I'm also hunting my shot aggressively too and doing my thing where I'm going to the line. And again, I don't know that the free throw rules as far as jumping into people, that's not going to affect him as much as everyone thinks it is. Because again, we know his thing with draws fouls is more of the stop-start. And stop-start that's a natural basketball move. So I think he'll be fine there.
Yeah, I would argue. I would push back a little bit, Jarod. Everything you said is right about stop, start, whatever. But he also is genius at creating contact on the side.
He is,
and not just with his very powerful body, but his arms. And I've been in touch with some referees, and I'm watching games, and they're just not calling it as much. It's preseason, but they're supposed to call it because they're supposed to give players an idea of what they're going to do. And so to me, the concern would be he gets a little bit less calls because he's doing a little bit less and maybe not as capable of doing as much. And also the referees are a little more reticent to call what they've always called in the past. And now he's at 5 free throws a game. Now, to your point, if Kyrie doesn't play, you would think Harden would be, if it was a regular year, he'd be at 10, 11 a game, free throws, not 7. He only needed 7 last year. He needs to be closer to that without Kyrie. The other part of this is he was generating a lot of free throws for many years because of what D'Antoni was doing as a system. Spread it out, cook your guy, smoke him, figure it out. That is not how Brooklyn wants to play, to their great credit. They're, and I've said this to you even on the show, they're running stuff.
Sure.
They're running offenses. They look like you'd expect Steve Nash to want to do, even though he played for D'Antoni and won 2 MVPs. They ran more stuff than what he did in Houston with James, because James is better than Nash and all that. So the system also is going to prevent him from just cooking a guy one-on-one and getting fouled. Right. So now we're left with, and I allowed for this in the article, it's a mistake to ever think these amazing players can't grow their games even later in life, right? You think of Marc Gasol and Brook Lopez and the way they shot threes. Shot better. Absolutely, James Harden can become a 40% three-point shooter. Part of it's going to be shot selection, which I think is the biggest problem. He tries a lot of really hard shots. If he grows that part of his game, takes more threes. Last year, he was at a many-year low in threes attempted per game, too. So if he takes more threes, makes more threes, that will make up for the points he's not getting on the free throw line for sure. But, yeah, we got to watch out for it. Brooklyn is missing a definite 5 defensively, and that's about it, and may not need that. They've got everything else without Kyrie. But James has to be all-star, MVP, borderline guy, in my opinion.
And I think, to your point last night in that Minnesota game, preseason is what it is. And we'll talk about that more as we get to some other players. There are stretches where I'm like, man, they are running beautiful offense right now. And Nash wants that ball at the ping. And I'm looking at it going, and yes, it's Minnesota who's terrible at defense, but still, ball's moving. I'm like, again, these guys are in conflict. The minute KD has the ball, it's like, shit, what do I do? He moves, crap, Joe Harris is wide open in the opposite corner, and it just causes scramble. If they're able to play that way, I think it'll mask a lot of the issues. But yeah, to your point, it's something that is for sure needs to be continued to watch. More drama. Let's go to Philly. Ben Simmons showed up on Monday to Philly, took his first COVID test, entered the safety protocols. It looks like he's going to be at least in Philadelphia. Whether he plays or not, it's a whole other situation. Look, I said this before. He had 4 years left on that deal. He and Rich Paul, they had no leverage. What was their leverage? They really had none, right? The only leverage could have been, all right, we stay holding out. Philly plays bad, and they realize, you need me. But he's back. Now my question, I wonder, is he back for real? Or is he going to be back, play a game, tweak an ankle, and then sit out for, I don't know, however long that ankle's tweaked? This is an interesting situation. Again, it's going to come down to how long Josh Harris, the Sixers managing partner, how long he allows Darryl to let this go to get what he wants, or if he's like, let's just end this soap opera nightmare and move on.
He's not vaccinated, correct?
I don't know. That part is not.
I don't think he's vaccinated. I've been reading about it. I don't know what that means in Pennsylvania.
They don't have the same rules as New York City and San Francisco.
Doc Rivers said as of later yesterday, he thought Ben Simmons would play tonight in Detroit, but wasn't sure. And which is weird because he hasn't been able to practice, and I don't recommend
playing without. Yeah, agreed.
You're just going to hurt him. I mean, to me, play him. He's going to get hurt. Well, he's going to claim he's hurt because then he doesn't have to go play again. It's a strange situation. Danny Green was quoted as saying, and he's got some gravitas in the league. He was quoted as saying, "We don't need to make jump shots. Just be a professional. Apologize, and then we'll be fine." That to me was telling.
That's the part, Coach. Look, about environments, and we've been coaches and around. That locker room is going to be awkward, just to say the least. Just seeing him around the facility, and again, it'd be one thing if he was like Jimmy Butler, right? Jimmy is a confrontational kind of guy, so Jimmy'd be like, "Fine, let's air it out and do right." That's Jimmy. Ben ain't like that. That he doesn't do the in-your-face confrontation thing. So this is going to be super awkward. I don't know how it fixes itself. Again, I know Darryl loves discomfort and awkwardness, but he ain't the one that's got to be down there dealing with that. So this will be quite the show. I don't know how this plays out. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either. Other than I think he'll get traded. They need him. Yeah. They're good with him. Without him, they're very, very good with him. Joel Embiid is incredible. Just an incredible player. He really is. And with a healthy excited Ben Simmons, they're really freaking good. They're better than last year without question. And they're angrier. Huh? Right. And they're better. Now the league is better too. But yeah, I think it's just, Doc is going to have to do some serious ego managing here. And there's going to be a lot of leadership needed. And I don't know if they have it. We'll see.
I was going to say, and who is that in the locker room? Who's the player that's like, listen, everybody shut the you-know-what up. Here's what we're doing. And it's like what Pat Bev said in the bubble. If LeBron says we're doing it, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Who's the dude who just says?
Joel is too goofy to be that guy. Danny Green probably.
But not good enough as a player.
Yeah, he's not a superstar. Yeah, no, you're right. There's cause for concern there, which is too bad because this could really be an amazing season. And Rich Paul screwed up. Rich Paul, this is based on reporting and things that the NBA have come out and said, which we're going to get to that in a minute too. Rich Paul basically told Ben Simmons, and I know he did because Brian Windhorst talked about it on his show. Other people did too, which told me they got it from Rich Paul or his people that, hey, don't worry about them waiving your $8 million that they owed you October 1. You'll get it when you get traded. The other team will pay you. And the league basically said, nope, that's not happening. And Ben Simmons reported almost immediately.
Yeah.
So Rich Paul kind of screwed up. He should have known ahead of time that was going to be the case.
Yeah. Rich gave Ben bad advice. I don't think there's any two ways around it.
And I'm hearing that there's now friction between those parties.
I mean,
Ben and his agent. Doesn't mean it's true. That's what I'm hearing.
Listen, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it was, right? Yeah. Now you're messing with people's money and you're saying, hey, we're going to do this. Look, player empowerment, which we are both all for. Yep. Cool, it works, but there's going to be a tipping point at some point, right? You're going to eventually run into a GM and a team that is like, no, we're not budging. And Daryl, coach. Daryl's stubborn. Daryl's not going to be like, sure, Rich, whatever you want. No, like, So this remains to be seen. Now going forward with what's going on in Brooklyn with Kyrie, with what's happening in Philly with Ben, you think that changes are coming from the NBA around this stuff, and you're not sure how to feel about it.
Yeah, I'm torn. And I think I've got a solution in my mind, but basically what we're talking about is the league never wants to see this again. That not to say players can't hold out. There's, they're not trying to take all rights and privileges away from players. But what the league is trying to say from a legal standpoint is, if you sign the contract, we'd like you to honor the contract. And Anthony Davis was willing to play for the Pelicans. They chose not to play.
Yeah, they chose not to. Yep.
That's fine. Like, they're not saying you can't do that, but to not show it is a problem. Legally, it's a problem. That's why you have a contract. I will tell you this, as you and I both we sit on the side of the players almost exclusively. However, I understand what laws mean in this country. We can't just be the Wild West. I don't want that. It sounds like, the people who supported the ex-president, they, in a sense, they claim to be constitutionalists, but it sounds like they just want freedom to do whatever you want. And we're conscripted or whatever. And we don't want that. I like the idea of having a process to follow. And, I think we operate better when we know what the rules are. That being said, I don't want to punish a player who signs an extension for the team that drafted him because it makes the most business sense, which it does, because you're for these top players, you're signing for $100+ million now. And they're at risk if something really bad would happen to you as a player. So they have to exercise that. And then to hold them accountable for that, I don't love that. The player that signs as a pure free agent and after a year isn't happy, I would have a problem with that. I don't like that, staying away. Not that they've done that, but Ben Simmons he didn't choose Philadelphia. He was drafted there. He chose to sign the extension because it was good business sense.
Yeah, no rookies ever turned down that extension.
Right. Things changed and he didn't like it there. I don't want that to stop. But I also think that just staying home isn't the answer for anyone. And the league, I think, is going to end up getting some stuff in writing.
I think you're right. The Board of Governors met recently, and I know this was a topic of discussion. Sure. 100%. So do not be surprised, to your point, Coach, if something does come up in place for next season.
Yeah.
Well, talking about these two drama-filled incidents kind of dovetails perfectly into the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks.
Yep.
Whom, the outside world, the average fan is probably not thinking about. In many ways, are sort of one of the more, not disrespected, but sort of underlooked champs coming in. But Milwaukee's got to be sitting in Cream City loving this right now. Drama in Brooklyn, drama in Philly. They're like, those are our two biggest competitors along with Atlanta. Great. Love it. You guys continue to go nuts because, as we've said many times, things are going to come up this season. Milwaukee's thing hasn't come up yet, but they're going into the season with no drama. Already won the championship. So, that frees you up. Now it's like no more noise about, is Bud getting fired? Is Giannis going to stay? We're good. Everybody's signed and locked in. And we think we could be even better. And so I watched a little bit of their preseason, a couple of games, and some things I'm seeing, Coach, it's like, I think the rest of the league might be in trouble because unlike everybody else's, except for Atlanta, star players who I mentioned, Milwaukee star players, 26. So he's just entering his prime. And, I watched this play, Coach, and I just loved it. It was just, wow, double pick and roll. And I was like, oh my God, look at that half court offense. It actually looks like it works. That was always Milwaukee's thing with Bud, right? We're like, what are you doing in the half court on offense? It looked terrible. And I thought, this was one play, but and it was against the Jazz. I was like, wow, if Bud's doing some different things, if winning the championship and locking up his extension has also freed him, I'm not worried about getting fired every 2 seconds. Maybe he's more relaxed now. I'm going to be better on offense. What do you think about the Bucks, particularly as they start looking at their half court offense?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have them as one of my favorites with Brooklyn when Kyrie looked like he was going to be a player. And I think I've said this, Milwaukee was my favorite over Brooklyn. I think they're better. They'll get DiVincenzo back at some point. I think they're a little deeper than last year. Bobby Portis is back, which is really helpful. And I think that we'll talk about Giannis in a minute. Jrue Holiday had himself a summer.
Mm-hmm. Sure
Jrue
did.
Holiday had himself a summer. We talked about it a bunch during the finals. He needed to be more of a scorer, and it's just not natural for him. But he did. He didn't do a great job of it. He missed a lot of shots in a lot of those games, but he made some huge shots for them. And then he was the unsung star of the Olympics. Absolute star. And I know from previous years, guys like that who haven't won a championship necessarily, though he did, go and win an Olympic gold and kind of find a little swagger that they really haven't had, at least maybe not a long time. And that carries over. And so now, if their third best player is Jrue Holiday and he's the best version of himself,
that's pretty good.
Pretty good. And we haven't even talked about Giannis, and remember, so as to the offensive play, not just play in particular, I'll mention that in a minute. We saw them uncover a new thing. We've talked about a bunch. I wrote about a bunch where Giannis just became the wrecking ball guy and everyone played around it and they found a rhythm. Well, that's a hammer they can always go to. I don't think we'll see it all season. They'll try lots of things, but they know they got that. And no one can guard that I've seen. Giannis is a potentially top 5 all-time player. Like, we have to embrace that. It's possible. We still have a long way to go, but you can't say it's not possible. You can say it's not possible for 99% of the league, 99.9%. Not him. He might go down to the top 5 player all time. And if he learns to shoot, which we got a little video of that in a minute, even better. That play in particular is, Steve Jones, who tweeted out, is fantastic. I follow him. I look at he's amazing.
Son of the legendary Snapper Jones.
How did I not ever know that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love him. Yeah.
I know you love Snapper.
Yeah, I love Steve. That Giannis jumper. I don't know that it looked any better than what I've seen before.
So
he's had a lot of jumpers that looked really.
Here's what I saw, Coach, and there's a whole bunch of clips of, like, not just that one, but quite a few. It seemed in the past his shots had a little bit more of a hesitation to it.
More of a hitch.
Much smoother. Now, look, I get it. It's preseason. He wasn't really guarded all that. But if that starts taking and it's much smoother, yikes.
Well, I would tweak what you're saying. You're right. He does have a more pronounced hitch often. To me, look where he's going. That's second box. or is one step outside
that's
this
your,
jumper.
that's your area.
Yeah. So the three is different. I don't trust his three. If it comes around, fantastic. But this is the Giannis that I fell in love with in the postseason during the Brooklyn series, where he's like, fuck it, I'm going first box, second box. He's one of the few guys that can go to second box and not even have to read, because he can almost always get to the first box and score two. Not as often when they bring five guys there. So having that shot, now you're really toast, because that's Chris Middleton from 7 feet closer in, just easy money. But the play that you saw, it's a staggered high ball screen, and Drew just slips it, gets right to the basically almost like the dunk spot, kicks it out for three. I don't know that they haven't run that before. I would trust Steve Jones Jr. He watches it more that way. I don't catalog it, but every team runs that stuff all the time. And guys get layups, or if they don't get a layup, it's because a big guy comes and they kick it out, because teams are slipping all the time because of the switches. One of the best ways to beat a switch is to slip the screen, or we call ghost it or veer it. But just before they switch, you jump out to shoot the three. So Drew made a good read there. But just as we've talked about, well, you said it, where that anvil's off their shoulders now. They're champs. They know what it takes. It works for players. It works for Bud too. And I'll just throw this out there because I'm a homer. I was flipping around last night, and the Lightning the two-time Stanley Cup champion Lightning are getting blown out in Detroit. I'm not watching hockey at this point of the year. I'm just not. I saw it on my phone more than anything. They're down 4-1, and then I noticed it's 4-3. And then they're down 6-3, third period, maybe late second period. Now we're going to the third period, the final period in hockey. It's 6-4 with like 5 minutes to play. It's over. No, it's not over. I think it was 6-3. They scored 3 times. They tie it and they win in overtime. After the game is my point. The head coach says there's some championship pedigree in that locker room. Like they already got blown out 6-2 in their first game. They're about to get blown out again on the road. No, this is what the Bucks have. They've been number one seeds multiple times, and now they're a champion. That carries some weight. That gets you through some rough spots. And I think their leader, being Giannis, is just so universally respected outside the locker room and inside the locker room. And I think Bud also is going to have a little more connection to the players. He's helped them all make a bunch of money, and now they got a ring too. And he adjusted, he changed a little bit. Like that's a scary team. That's a scary franchise. They're loaded also. I think you're right. The league better watch out for those guys.
Yeah, man, this could be something of dynastic proportions, right? So look out, folks. Milwaukee Bucks. Something that's not as positive and we're not as happy about, obviously, going on down in New Orleans. Zion Williamson. First of all, the fact that he broke his foot in the summer and we didn't find out about it until literally media week was like, how'd they keep that secret? No leaks, nothing. Okay, right. Let's put that to the side. The Pelicans came out today or yesterday and said Zion scans looked at by the doctors and he's ready to progress to the next steps. What are next steps? We don't even know. And the scans will be reviewed again in 2 more weeks. All that to say is he's not even running yet. All that to say, he's not playing basketball to start the season. Nope. He's going to miss at least the first few weeks. And as I said before, this is year 3 for him. Third head coach, his second or third injury. Like, what? I'm not sounding alarm bells, but if I have Zion Williamson stock and I'm a Pelican, I'm concerned about what's going on down there.
All right, so I picked him as my MVP with Kevin Durant, which is it's really more acknowledging the fact that if he does play and he's healthy, he's going to just absolutely destroy the league. He's just an incredible player. A picture came out yesterday of him in 2019 where he's looking amazing, and then a recent one where he's looking swollen is the word I would use, swollen. Now, absolutely possible that the picture down below is photoshopped. I get that. I didn't bother to check. I remember him as a rookie, and I don't know if it's photoshopped or not. But what I did, Judy, it's the next picture. I went and found a picture of him when he was playing at Duke, and I know this thing ain't photoshopped. So that guy does not look like the guy we see in 2021. And now I would tell you that going back to his days in Duke, I had heard that his family his team, whether it's his mom and dad, personal coach, I don't know any of them. Great people, nice people, whatever, that they have their own workout routines for him and they know better. This is what I was being told going back to when he was 18 years old. And now he's been hurt a third time, whatever it is. I don't know what they're doing. I won't repeat what I was told specifically that they're doing because I can't verify it. But I know this, it's not something they should be doing if they were doing it. And we gotta follow this. This is the next Giannis. This is the next LeBron. He's that good. Luka. He's on their level, Jarod.
Oh, yeah.
He's an absolute winner. Not
well,
just
you saw it last year. The numbers showed it last year. I mean,
and he loves to pass. Like, this is not just a scorer. He's a brilliant basketball player in a body with an athleticism, that combination that we've really never seen since LeBron. It's fair to say LeBron is not as big as this dude. I mean, and LeBron's heaviest. I remember, I don't remember the number anymore, but I remember a very well-known player told me that a teammate of LeBron's told him LeBron was at 270. When he was at his highest this particular season, many years ago, he was in Cleveland. He was at 270. He has since trimmed down significantly. So he was incredible at 270. I'm hearing Giannis Zion is like 290 plus. Wow. I don't know. No one on the team is telling me that. I don't have anyone on the team that would tell me that, but and this was a while ago, nothing more recent. We got to pay attention to this kind of stuff. That's not good for him. And and I know this from players too often, they think, well, everything's been good so far. I don't need to change now. Yeah, you do. This is the best league in the world and the most demanding basketball league in the world. No one else plays 82 games and then the postseason with the preseason at 5 games, whatever. Yeah, you're gonna have to get some professionals here. You can't just rely on Uncle John or whatever you're doing. Mm-hmm. I don't know what he's doing, but you need to get the smart professionals in the room, or you're gonna lose another year of what should be a magnificent season.
Is this a case of? I know we don't know, but if you were to guess, the case of New Orleans worrying about Zion potentially being the first player to ever refuse the extension and they want to keep him there. So they're like, all right, keep your family routine, do whatever you want. Like, we'll let you run the ship here. Is it a case of that, you think?
I mean, I think those guys know what they're doing. Trajan and David Griffin, Trajan Lange and David Griffin, who run the team. I think every team, to some degree, to your point, does exactly that. They're not looking to ruffle feathers. I don't care if it's a big market team. You're trying to get a squirrel to a nut, so to speak. You're trying. My wife and I was joking about this. When you're dating someone, you don't want to do anything wild when you try to get them just to say yes to a date kind of thing. Well, it's no different with team, right? They want to be partners. And so if Team Williamson, Team Zion has some ideas on how they want to do things, which again is not abnormal, it's pretty normal. You want to see them, right? I see what you want to do. Here's my suggestion. Let's try to work it out. I don't know what's happening there. It's just, it's not great that, and because he's injured, he can't exercise. I don't know what that photo was, whatever, but there's things you can do. There's gravity machines, there's diet and exercise. There's things that he can do, non-impact, right? Low impact, probably non-impact is what he needs. They should be addressing all of it. I don't know what his eating habits were when he was growing up. They need to be different now. Like every other player in the NBA, they need to be different now. And our league has gotten so good at this, Jarod.
Yeah,
we've got every team as a chef. I'm old enough now to have been training NBA players full time. That no one had a team chef. I had to tell my players to get a team chef. Get a personal chef.
Yep.
That was a recommendation I always made once they had a little cash to make sure they're not going to Hardee's at night. There's a healthy food waiting for you at home and in the morning or whatever. They all have it now.
Yeah.
And because of Steve Nash, they travel better with food, right? And Jared Dudley, I think, talked about this a decade ago, didn't he?
Yeah.
You remember that at all?
I do.
And Jared really changed his body.
For sure. It's advanced to a tremendous level. I've talked to, quite a few of the NBA teams, nutritionists and leaders. Hardy catching strays. Well, you know who else is catching strays? Especially in New Orleans, it's important for Zion. He's young, and in that city. I've been to quite a few cities. I've been lucky enough to both internationally and domestically. New Orleans is a top 5 culinary destination.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt. And that includes all the wonderful places in Europe that I've been. Like the food is so good. And, you know, if you're prone to gaining weight, might not be the place you want to be spending all your time because, you know, you gain some pounds down in New Orleans. So to your point, it bears watching what is happening down there because to your point, this is their ticket. Like Adam Silver is sitting in the league office is going, okay, once LeBron's done, this is our next guy that we are doing the thing. And if he's always injured, that's not good.
Right. You've got the John Morant, who is more like every man because he's regular sized and incredible. I think he's the most exciting player in the league.
He's so fun.
It's Zion. I don't think Luka is incredible, but he's not as exciting from a athletic standpoint, fair to say. But the Zion is the Superman, like LeBron was, right? Like Jordan was before that. They are not of our kind in a sense. They're just that special. And yeah, it's fun. It's not, I mean, Will Smith, new movies need to be science fiction.
Yes.
If you want to be number one all time.
Fun.
Well, Zion and LeBron, they're science fiction. Giannis, science fiction.
Yes.
Like they're not normal. That was normal. So yeah, I mean, we need him. And he's so like, I love watching Zion play. I love because he's not just about getting buckets. He's about making good plays. He makes good plays. He's a good teammate. He's fun to watch. And Willie Green is, from what I hear, is just the greatest guy. They're going to have a great culture there.
Good. They need it.
A great culture there for sure. And he'll learn X and O's wise as a first year coach. But with Zion, you don't need X's and O's. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. He's unguardable no matter what you do. But he's got to be healthy. Like I would love to see him come in at, if his normal playing weight is 270, and I just making that up, I'd love to see a 255.
Ooh, he'd
not going to hurt him at all.
Oh no, he'd be ridiculous. It's so strong, and yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I'd love to see that, but I'm worried that it might be 315, and that's not good.
No. Okay, let's move on, Coach, to another team that, you know, we talked about Milwaukee earlier. Another team that people are disrespecting, and they're like, "No, you got to show me." The Utah Jazz and their big man, Rudy Gobert. For those of you who are frequent listeners to bring it in, you remember last week we did our NBA 75. So we added our 25 players from 1996 and on who would make this next list. And Coach David Thorpe, basketball mind, had Rudy Gobert on his 25 list, which I didn't disagree with. I was like, oh, he's 3-time DPOY, like best defensive player on the planet, the whole nine. Of course, people heard this on Twitter. It started a whole thing. Blah, blah, blah. How could you have Rudy Gobert? He's not that good. All this stuff. And, you know, all the tropes started coming out, right, Coach? He gets played off the floor all the time. He's not even better than Dennis Rodman. Like all the things, just how terrible he is. Here's what I will say about Rudy Gobert. The problem with Rudy Gobert is his game is more friendly towards analytics and people who actually understand the game of basketball. and I'm not shading. I'm just being honest. It is not friendly to Bleacher Report, House of Highlights, and all the things that most people use to judge what's good at basketball, right? We talked about it before. What does Uncle Drew always say? This game is and always will be about getting buckets, right? Rudy's game doesn't lend itself to that because it isn't that. He don't get buckets. He just stops people from getting buckets and does it better than anybody else in the history of the league. So good, in fact, the Utah Jazz's defense is all built around that. A Utah Jazz defense, by the way, with suspect defenders around him. Everybody says every year in the postseason, well, he gets played off the floor. But I'm like, no, he doesn't. You know why he gets played off the floor? Because Donovan Mitchell and Joe Ingles and everybody else can't keep their man in front of them. So now he's got to go cover for them when they lose and then sprint back out and cover 3-point shooters. Listen, he can't guard everybody. He's only one man. He can't do 5-on-1, but he's brilliant. And I know you can talk about where people often get misguided on how good Rudy Gobert actually is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you did a great job yourself on that. The way I described it, when people say he's played off the floor, he isn't, they said they target him. No. He's being schemed for. And the example I used was, I'm old enough to remember very, very well Lawrence Taylor for the New York Giants.
Oh,
I had seen tickets to the Buck games for, 30 years, whatever. You had a scheme. You didn't target Lawrence Taylor. You schemed for him, or you were fucked. Because he was going to break your.
Lawrence Taylor was responsible for the evolution of the left tackle. That's why left tackle is so important right now.
For sure.
Of Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah. And so, but you had a scheme for him to try to keep him from murdering your quarterback.
literally murdering your quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, I watched the game live when Theismann had his leg snapped.
He basically killed Joe Lyman.
Yeah, right. I watched it live and it was not good. So you have to scheme for Rudy Gobert. And I don't just mean in the postseason. I work with NBA players. I know what they're thinking. I know what they're talking about. Everyone goes into a game talking about Rudy Gobert. What are we going to do with this guy? And just to be clear, you're totally right about the highlights and all of that. But the guy's one of the all-time dunk leaders in terms of dunks. I think he's had the most dunks 4 straight years, some number like that. Someone can look it up. He broke the all-time record for dunks, by the way. He destroyed Dwight Howard's record for most dunks in a season, 300 something. Okay, so dunks are good. We like dunks. That's why he has such a high field goal percentage. He doesn't take bad shots almost ever. And I think to your very, very good point about what fans see and don't see, coaches don't understand defense at some levels. So how can fans understand it? And it's half the game, literally half the game. And this guy's the best. I love what you said. Maybe ever, right? He might get, there's no reason to think he's not going to 4th DPOY this year. He's the best defender in the game. So, he and Caleb joked about screen assists. It's not a bad thing,
right?
That's why he has all those dunks. To be clear, he has all those dunks because of those screen assists. And so if you guard the guy who's going to score because of Rudy's assist, well, then they throw it to Rudy for the dunk. Like, how was that bad, right? I mean, he was doing a lot of this when Ricky Rubio was his main point guard, and just until Mike Conley came. Mm-hmm. And look what happened. They had the best record in the league when they upgraded really one position. So he's not fun to watch that way. And I this is just my own opinion. If he was from Mississippi or Georgia or New York, I think he'd be seen differently.
He's French. That matters. Yeah. It does. That matters.
The average Twitter fan.
Yeah, it does.
I don't subscribe to that.
I
don't care where they're from. My wife and daughter went to Paris. They didn't treat them great, but whatever. I have plenty of friends in France, and I can't wait to go visit one day.
I love Paris. My favorite city after New York.
Yeah. So amazing. I'm not holding against Rudy Gobert because he's from anywhere. It's unfortunate, Jarod, because again, if we're only going to talk about offense, we should just change the rules.
Yeah.
But we're trying to win championships here. I know he hasn't won any, but neither is James Harden. He's just scored more, but he's never won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times. So I'm not saying he's ranked 1 or 2, and there's a lot of good players. But to act as if he isn't some kind of incredible, impactful player in the league is just silly because he doesn't have a great post game.
Right. Correct.
So,
and I think the other piece about Rudy too, because everyone goes playoffs. Well, this happens to every team in the playoffs. Guess what happens in the playoffs, guys? You don't get to play Cleveland, Orlando, Sacramento, all these dregs of the league. They're not there. You're playing all the good teams. Guess what? Hard to beat good teams. Newsflash. And when you have a team that's got 3 outstanding wings, yeah, what are you going to do? Like, I don't care who you have on your team. Like, unless you can clone Rudy Gobert 5 times or clone Ben Simmons 5 times, look, man, it is what it is, right? You're going to get exposed at some levels. So I think a lot of it is about Utah and what they need to do on their end, right? Just like sometimes with their guys, keep Reggie Jackson out of the lane. He killed them in the lane in that series.
He was unbelievable. They shot 46% from 3. I didn't even know if you played better defense, it would have mattered. But you mentioned Utah, not just Rudy. Let's just finish it with this. They have a coach.
Queen.
And he's done a great job in the regular season.
I think
he's been out coached in the postseason.
He has.
Not every year because they've lost to better teams. But I thought they got out coached last year. I thought Ty Lue crushed Quinn Snyder.
Yep.
And so now all right, Quinn, you got that anvil on your neck now, the way Bud has in the past. They're good enough to win a championship. I don't love their offseason moves. I could be proven wrong, of course. Rudy Gay is still out, and they brought him in for a decent amount of money. Let's just see. They're certainly very, very good. I'm a huge Donovan Mitchell fan of Mike Conley, but Quinn's got to come up with some better systems to help what you said. Rudy, they put a little guy in to force Rudy to guard the 3, and now we got to make sure we do a better job. We can even zone up, so we're not just getting a rim run all the time and a straight line drive all the time. That's on the coaching staff too.
Yeah, he needs to. This is Quinn. That intransigence. The reason why I love Carlisle and Spoelstra and Ty Lue and Nick Nurse, They ain't married to things. Oh, that's not working. Scrap. Let's do something. Whatever I got to do to win in game and adjust. And Quinn, that's his next step of evolution. You got to get better at that. If it's not working, do something. This is the playoffs. This ain't game 10 of the regular season where it's like, if we lose, who cares? Like, you got to change. All right, I'm going to close with this. I don't love doing self-promo, but I'm going to do it. Judy, if you want to pull up my VO site. So for those of you that don't know, these wonderful pipes that you hear are going to be put out for the world, for masses. And as I continue on as a voice actor, Henry just tweeted it out earlier. A lot of hard work went into training and putting that demo together and putting together this website. Judy, say what you said when you first pulled the website up and you saw the tagline.
Resonant warmth with a smile. That's perfect. And it really is. It's perfect.
Thank you. So yeah, anybody who's got voiceover projects, whatever it may be, hit me up, send it out to your friends. JarodHectorVO.com, and I will be happy to assist any and everybody. All right, Coach, as we head towards the next week, what are you most looking forward to start the NBA season?
Well, first, I'm looking forward to you having a brilliant career as a voice actor.
Thank you, sir.
I love to joke all the time. I have a lifelong friend named Trisha, who's a PhD psychologist in South Carolina, and she's known me since third grade, literally third grade. And I was short most of my life, and then I grew up, and she thought of me as this really tall guy. I'm only 6 feet tall, but that's pretty tall in the real world. But in all my pictures, I'm the shortest guy ever because I hang out with basketball players. And so now I do this weekly show, and I'm stuck with you. My voice is just an old raspy coach's voice. You have this fantastic set of pipes. So I hope that it goes really great for you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm looking forward to, you know what? I'm looking forward to, you hit it perfectly. Milwaukee. And I just want to see them bolt out of the gates, even without DiVincenzo, because I don't think he's come back right away. I want to see Golden State be interesting again because of Steph. I want to see Draymond Green. I could write an article about this. I want to see Draymond Green. Maybe I will. I want to see Draymond shooting threes and making them. Like he used to do that. Like imagine how good he would be if he'd go back to making threes again. I want to see Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving playing without the drama that exists off the court. There's enough drama on the court. It's such a freaking hard game. There's so many good teams. I'd like to see them find some happiness just playing basketball and making a bunch of money and having a great life. As you get older, just more and more curveballs are coming. I want to see Miami look interesting with Kyle Lowry there. I read an article the other day about John Collins and what he's working on to build off of his postseason last year, which was good. The East gets way more fun if the Hawks are good. If last year wasn't a fluke, the East gets really interesting.
If Atlanta's the 3 seed, all I got to say is watch out. That's all I got to say. They're the 3 seed at the end of the year. Look out because they are young. No, I'm with you on all those, Coach. The one I will add is, Memphis. I am glued in down to Memphis. John Morant, we know. Trip, that's my guy. This is the year, my dude. I need 20 and 7 and 39% from 3 and not 5 fouls a game. And we're cooking.
And what about Michael Porter Jr. in the second? Seriously, what can he do? Can he go 25 a game?
He's going to make an all-star team. He's going to make the all-star team. If he's doing that and they are where they normally, he's going to make an all-star team because he's, tall guys who can shoot. That's my basketball love language.
and he's playing with Beethoven.
Yeah.
He's playing with Mozart. This guy gets everyone open. He's such a crazy, brilliant passer, and he's becoming a leader. Nikola Jokic is. So, I want to see how MBJ does too. It'd be interesting to see the rookie class. Obviously, we know how I feel about Scotty Barnes, but there's a lot of rookies that have done pretty well. But Scotty, to me, is becoming more like Magic Johnson every damn day. So I wrote about him a little bit in our piece that came out today. And I want to see Toronto do well. I love my city, but it's not for them. Right? I don't even love my city anymore. It's just a city. It's fine. But if you're not from here, you don't want to be here full time. The Raptors are home in a great city like Toronto.
Yep.
I don't know if they'll win more than half their games. I'll write an article next week about that. But I hope they do because they had a rough run last year in Tampa.
They did. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. As always, have a great weekend. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Judy. And we will see you on Monday. Peace.
Be safe.